This is the Gen Y Leaders Podcast. Welcome to the Gen Y Leaders Podcast, where we guide millennials to become the next generation of business leaders and entrepreneurs. I'm your host, Eric Huey, and multiple times a month, we bring you interviews from high-performing millennials who are challenging perceptions and changing expectations of our generation. Our mission is to help you overcome fear, take action, and go confidently in the direction of your dreams. It's time to start preparing now, mainly because 10,000 baby boomers are retiring every day, which will create a vacuum of career opportunities that you've been waiting for. Will you be ready? Welcome, Gen Y Leaders, to the Gen Y Leaders Podcast. We're happy today to be joined by Jon Shanahan, aka co-founder of Stryx and founder of the Kavalier. So, Jon, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
So we always like to ask our guests, just to start out, just give us your background and tell us your why, or what drives you.
Yeah, I mean, my background really kicked off in the professional world working for Apple at one of their retail stores, and it exposed me to just how many smart people are out there. I think when I worked at a lot of family businesses when I was growing up, and you were always like looking to be challenged and doing new things. And then when I worked for Apple, I was like, wow, it's like there's so much opportunity out there if you're willing to chase it. And then I think that really informed my desire to be a resource for people. I always loved, when I was younger, I was the person in my family that people came to and was like, I need to buy a computer, or I need to get a new phone. Like, I was always very into technology, and I liked being the resource for that. And when I was at Apple, my role really morphed into that. I was considered an expert, which was a rare position at the time, where if there's anything in the store that somebody has a question about, whether it's product or process, like, people came to you. And that really, I really enjoyed that. And so I started to chase that a little bit, and that's what ended up leading me into my next career in technology and technology sales, and then ultimately into YouTube.
Very cool. So your channel, the Kavalier, it's seen some really significant growth. So I guess talk about the inspiration behind the channel and what made YouTube sort of the ideal place to really foster that growth.
Yeah, after Apple, I went into a predictive analytics company, and we worked with retailers. And it was a specific technology that it impacted the whole supply chain for how products were created. So we worked with the designers who were doing sketches and CADs of new products, and then all the way through to when the product hit the stores and how it was marketed. And so working with all of those teams opened my eyes to just how cool the retail industry was. Like, from a baseline, everybody needs clothes. Everybody wants clothes. Fashion is a needle, a thread through all things. But then seeing how it was all done, and just that whole industry really fascinated me. And so as I was doing that, we were working with huge companies, huge brands, like at every mall. And at the same time, I started to buy clothes from companies like Bonobos or from Everlane, and all these newer brands. And then I couldn't really find a lot of information about them at the time. This was like 2013, 2014. And I had actually had background in high school creating videos in a video class. I was the president of the video club. Nothing more sexy than that when you're in high school. And so I had this video experience, and then I was like, you know what? No one's really making videos that I want to watch, which were informative, straightforward, just a lot of straightforward information. And so I was like, well, I guess, I could do it. I mean, I have a camera. I could just shoot with my phone. I'll just put it on YouTube. Because the other thing too is there were a lot of blogs. That was really the golden era of fashion blogs, was like 2010 to 2015. And I don't I don't enjoy reading. I'm not great at it. I've always had a level of dyslexia and ADHD that prevented me from really reading well. So I was like, all right, I want to watch YouTube videos. Why don't I make some? And that's when YouTube too. This was also before YouTube was the number one career for young people. It's like there's been studies in the past couple of years where it's like the number one thing young people want to be as a YouTuber, and this is way before that came about.
Yeah, I've seen that study as well, or similar studies. And I guess the sort of exceptional growth that I've talked about, how long did that take, and what are some things you attribute to that success?
I never really had, I wouldn't call it exceptional growth. I've always just had steady growth. It's like at this point, the channel is pretty big, but it took years. Like, I don't think I really saw more than 10,000 subscribers for the first 2 years. And then it compounds after that. Like I'm definitely a believer in the idea of this compound growth. And, so yeah, it took a couple of years to gain any level of traction. And I had set up these kind of barriers or goalposts where I was like, all right, I'll post videos for a year and see what happens. And then after 6 months, I was like, all right, maybe more than a year, and to just kind of keep going. But I also was never really in it to hit subscriber numbers. It's always been more about, am I going to, am I doing something that I enjoy? And then everything's kind of flowed from there.
Sure. And that kind of leads into that next question. As your content is made to help guys feel and look the best they can. So as you've been able to do that, what do you take the most pride in?
I'd say I get a lot of email. I put my email address in all my videos, and I've been pretty lucky that the spam filters have gotten a lot better because I get a lot of that. But sometimes I get these long, like multi-paragraph emails. This happens almost every week about guys that I'll say, hey, I started watching this one video and then I went to this one, and then I bought my first pair of nice shoes and I got this promotion. Or guys will email me and like, hey, I lost all this weight and now I'm using your channel to dress better. And it's like, that's the sort of stuff that has always really driven me. And so whether it's those, or I probably get 15 to 20 DMs each day from different guys on Instagram. Because in every video I say, hey, comment below, or you can shoot me a DM on Instagram. And guys are a lot more comfortable in that format versus leave me a comment. And so guys will watch the video, jump over to Instagram, message me, and then either have a question about a product or just say some nice words, which I really like.
So for online influencers or YouTubers who want to get started, what are some things you feel like they could learn from your growth or your success?
Well, I've also watched, part of when I get in these messages, either on Instagram or in emails, is a lot of guys that are aspiring to build channels, and I'll kind of go back and forth, and they'll ask for advice and recommendations. So I've also watched a lot of people start in this area, and I've spanned the whole gamut from guys that started and blew up, and then some guys that start and kind of burn out. And so I think the number one thing is just a misalignment of the outcome. And I see a lot of guys and a lot of people start with the idea that they're going to get famous on YouTube and get rich. And it's like, if you chase that, you're setting yourself up for failure. It's like if you're chasing fulfillment on some other level, whether it is helping, or it is informing, or it is, like Mr. Beast didn't set out to be a famous YouTuber. He set out to like make funny videos with his friends. And same with David Dobrik. I haven't dug into his background enough to know if that was his goal, but I would assume no, he just wanted to make funny videos, and then this is all comes out of there. And so, if you have a goal of having a level of influence, that doesn't come because you want to be an influencer. It comes because you want to help and make an impact on people, and then everything else flows from there. So you got to start with helping first.
Very, very cool. I guess as your channel's grown, obviously you're able to monetize and kind of move forward in that way. What do you think you've learned about managing a business that you didn't expect when you started the channel?
Well, I had known examples of companies that started where they had, or company, successful companies, whether it's Apple or Microsoft, especially, I follow technology very closely, and it's like you always had the product guy and then the business guy. It was like Steve Wozniak was the product, and then Jobs was the business, or Gates was the like the product and the visionary, and then Ballmer was the one that was in the background running the business side of things. And I've seen now channels that only have half of that are the ones that will really struggle. And I feel lucky that in my exposure to the corporate world and seeing how businesses were run, I've been able to take some of that and bring it back into my channel. And so while I do have a big focus on like discovering new brands and building the YouTube and the video side of things, there's also the side of it, which is like the administration and like making sure I know enough about tax law to not overpay or underpay in taxes and get a fine, or accounting to the point where, I was like, this was in 2017 is when I was like, all right, this is going to become a real thing. I need to take this seriously. It's like, all right, I'm going to get an accountant. It's like, it's not worth my time to learn enough about accounting. I'm just going to pay somebody to do it. Boom. That's a great way to do it. And so, even just the administration around, I got my logo trademarked and I have my, like my business license and my state and everything. And it's like, that's the sort of stuff that I didn't know, but then, also finding out even just within my family, like we've had, restaurants and small businesses, and having the resources to go to and ask questions of like, all right, why do I have to pay this type of tax, and help me out with this sort of thing has been really big. And so just finding within your own network who can help you and who's been through this, I think is really powerful, and surrounding yourself with others that are trying to build is one of the best things you can do.
Nice. Kind of going the Stryx route. How, I guess the channel came before Stryx, but how did the channel help you sort of grow into that opportunity or lead to other opportunities outside of YouTube or the blog?
Yeah, with Stryx, I would not be where I'm at today if I hadn't. And it's the thing of where you can't connect the dots looking forward. I can only look back and say, oh, it's very clear that this path would have led me here. But the path to that was, I had my job. I was building YouTube on the side. As I was covering brands on YouTube, one of the co-founders of Stryx was following my channel and also covering similar brands. And then I quit my job so I could go out on my own, which, like in retrospect, I could not have gone from my corporate job to Stryx. I couldn't have left like the stability of the corporate job and I have 3 children, like the healthcare and the benefits and everything, and then go to there. But because I built my company to the point where I was self-sustaining and I had left that, then that gave me the connection to Stryx. Then the other part of that is when Stryx launched in January of 2019, I was one of the first videos for it. And then through that year, I used it constantly. And I was like, oh, this is why this product exists. And I got more and more interested in that space. And so when they approached me and they're like, hey, we're looking for a full-time co-founder that understands how to take this to another level, I was like, all right, this is perfect. And so it was very much serendipitous.
Very cool. You kind of mentioned, I don't know if a book is the right resource, but throughout your career, what's been maybe a book or a resource that have something you kind of fall back on or has left an impact on you?
Yeah, I would say, and we had a couple of interns this summer, and my advice was really like, find somebody at your position that can mentor you and like really take an interest in you, because the best thing that I've had in each of my roles or companies has been somebody, whether, in my last company, it was a couple of gray-haired, silver fox guys that were in their 50s that were happy to mentor me and really guide me. And they've actually, even after leaving the company, they've been hugely valuable as I've grown personally and professionally. But books, I said about reading, but I also consume audiobooks at a very fast pace. And so I do really like the educational component of those things, and podcasts. I mean, I listen to tons of podcasts as well, and I think there's a lot of learning there. And so I took a lot of inspiration from I would say two in particular. The startup podcast launched as I was just formulating the idea for the Kavalier, and hearing the process of like guy quits his job, builds a company, does a podcast, like that whole thing I thought was really inspiring. And I really like to go back and listen to that every once in a while when they built Gimlet, which ultimately sold to Spotify. And then there's another podcast, Smart Passive Income, with Pat Flynn, and his niche really focuses on very much people like where I am, which is you've got this thing and you want to build a side hustle and you want to, end up building something that can be self-sustaining for you. So those two podcasts. And then books, there's been a few. I just recently listened to Billion Dollar Brand, which kind of aggregated and rolled up a lot of the learnings and stories of Warby Parker, Dollar Shave Club, Harry's, and like Casper, some of the mattress companies. I think there's a lot of good learnings in there. And so I'm starting to find with books like that where they're pretty timely, like all those brands have just been the past 5 years, even though I've followed the stories very closely and I could tell you a lot of detail about them, having it in that format was really helpful to take away some learnings and nuggets, which I really enjoyed. And then actually just recently I listened to the Reed Hastings book, No Rules Rules. And that one I thought was an amazing study in how to build a company culture and just really understanding like what makes Netflix so formidable and powerful in the industry. And, part of it is their unique approach to how they entered the film industry, but then also how they hire talent, build a company, give them freedom, and really empower their employees to build something really unique. And so, yeah, I have my Audible subscription. So every month I'm always looking for good new stuff that I can get into.
Awesome. Yeah, not to get too off topic, but the Dollar Shave Club story is always just fascinating to me, how basically overnight, website stops working because of the sort of, the viral nature of that ad that they put out.
Yeah, everybody's best intentions, like, oh, maybe we'll get, a few hundred sales today. And then when you get a few million to the site, you're like, this is a problem. We did not expect any of this. Yeah.
So obviously you can look up the Kavalier on YouTube or find your blog on your site. Where else can people find you online, Jon?
I'm pretty active on LinkedIn. I'm always connecting over there, but then, yeah, Stryx, we have our YouTube channel, Instagram, just launched new products. And then I'm actually launching another part of the Kavalier site, which a lot of the questions I get is around suiting and shirting. And so I built a site that's going to help to answer some of those questions. Like if you're looking for a specific type of shirt, I kind of built this flow that will say like, all right, here's the type of shirt you can go. Here's the company you can get that type of shirt from, which is really cool.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate your time and a lot of good information.
Thank you, Jonathan. Keep up the great work.
Thanks.
That wraps up today's episode. We hope to have brought you some valuable key takeaways. Most importantly, whatever you learned, take action on it. Apply it to your life. Apply it to your career. Motivation and inspiration only come as a result of taking that first step. So if you're enjoying the podcast, don't forget to like and subscribe on whichever platform you found the show. You can also follow us on all the major social media platforms or contact us directly at genwhyleaders@gmail.com. That's GENWHY leaders@gmail.com. Until next time, I'm Eric Huey, and thanks for listening to the Gen Y Leaders Podcast.